Hey, what's going on, my people out there in the ethos? We have appeared and come again. This is the Big House breakdown, all things Michigan football. And what are we doing today in our most grand way? We are doing this here. We are breaking down a preview show of the Michigan versus Maryland game. That's right, Michigan versus Maryland Terrapins. I hope you guys like my visuals. That's right, because it's a sandwich game. That means it's the game in between the grand game, which is Michigan versus Zero State. And of course, in the illustrations, you see Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback of note this week, playing for the Maryland Terrapins, that we have to stop. And then we got Baby Hulk, as I like to call him, Kenneth Grant of the Michigan Wolverines. How y'all doing all out there in FBS football land? Welcome to the Big House Breakdown Sports Talk. We want you to talk your sport. We want you to root for you and yours, because that is the way that the game is played. Like, share, and subscribe, and let's ride. So we're here tonight talking about Michigan. Now, of course, I'd be remiss not to mention all of the uber goober scandal and whatnot. And then I guess the latest to come out of the scandal is that Jim Harbaugh and Michigan fall on the sword and take the 3-game punishment, which basically means the rest of the season, for evil not of their own doing. So in that case, let's get right to shit talking. All right, that's right. We shit talking, people throwing shit on the wall and hoping it sticks. What's up with your team? So here is the call letters, right? I'm going to put them in, and I want you to jump in if you feel so inclined to speak your piece about all things college football, not just Michigan, but we're Michigan focused here. But we can jump right in and begin. And here is the actual call letters for everyone to jump in. I'm trying to pull it up right now and put it on the screen. There you go. So on the bottom, V3, G2, C6, PXWI on a Friday. We're going to remove that. We're going to put it on the bottom in a ticker so that's there for the entire time that we're rocking. You guys can see it. We can see it. And if you're so inclined and you like what I get down and you like what we do, please, donate to our Cash App, $ the Real HD Show, $ the Real HD Show. We take them twos and fews, but we like the bigger notes as well. So what's up with your team? Call us up, dial us up, get in that backstage if you prefer, and let us know what's up with your college football team. Mine is 10-0. I don't know what yours is doing, but mine is 10-0. Okay? So we getting ready to get into this shit talking. So, like I said before in previous episodes, college football has been Game of Thrones-ish, with the media going through and spreading a campaign about the cheating scandal just to find out that there's many, many teams in the Big Ten cheating, just like there were many, many teams doing many, many violations all over college football. What's up, Bama? What's up, Tennessee? What's up, Northwestern? What's up, Utah? Y'all know who I'm talking to, amongst others, and probably many others. Their crap just ain't hit the light of day yet. So Michigan takes the suspension, and mainly Jim Harbaugh, they make him the poster boy of the wrongdoing, even though they really can't connect him with any tangible proof to the cheating scandal that is 2023. Now, it's interesting because they were going to go seek an injunction from the Michigan court, and they were all lawyered up, and it was supposed to be the Empire Strikes Back, and I still think that there's something that's going to happen in that direction, just not now. And the burden of claim would be on Michigan. It wouldn't be on the Big Ten, because the Big Ten is handling their things as an adjunctive administrative body within the confines of the Big Ten. When we take it out of the Big Ten, now it becomes a matter of the Big Ten is the plaintiff. I mean, the Big Ten is the defendant and Michigan is the plaintiff, and you have to prove your claim. And right now, a claim of violation of due process may not be enough to stick, to be worth the money, to be worth the fanfare and political paparazzi drama that it's become. And mostly, it won't be worth the distraction for the school or the team who still, and if you hadn't seen the game last week, still is the most complete team in football, and still, by Vegas metrics, has the best chance of winning the national championship. So for the greater good of the Michigan team and the Michigan school, Ned Stark fell on the sword. I think the wisdom behind it was Jim Harbaugh knows he has some excellent, assistant coaches. Sharon Moore has shown a penchant for managing the team well, and it would get Michigan out of the dusty dust of it all to just have Jim serve this minor suspension, for the team to continue to coach the team during the week, and for it not to be a long-term albatross around the neck of the team, so they will be emotionally drained and not fired up for the second half of the college football season, which is a run for the national championship. So mob rule, and they stoned Socrates to death, meaning Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan claim. If anybody knows anything about history, Socrates was stoned to death by a crowd of his peers because he was a little bit ahead of his time with his wisdom and his concepts and the things that he was saying. Of course, Socrates was taught in Egypt. I won't jump down that rabbit hole. But once again, mob rule stones Socrates, meaning Jim Harbaugh. Jimmy Neutron, his experiment doesn't work. It's a flop. And we are back to playing ball. So, but the thing we got to worry about is whether or not this is slippery slope. Is this a slippery slope? Will this open up the FBS Pandora's box, if you will, of all kinds of boo-boo about every team coming out? And if you are going to make a precedent that all it has to do for mob justice to rule without proof is that a gang of teams get together and scream Chicken Little, the sky is falling, and then the director of said conference decides that wisdom applies and starts suspending people left and right without due process. Some team somewhere is going to fight this thing, and it's going to be ugly. And with the college football playoff format switching next year to a 12-team layout, this creates a slippery slope. So that means anybody that you think that you can get out of the way with collusion and RICO and racketeering to frame someone, you can do just that. And here's a message for Zero State, man. Mind your business, man. We don't need Ryan Day. We don't need the AD from Ohio State saying, let Jim Harbaugh coach in the game. It's only the right thing to do. We don't need that, man. Y'all done enough. Y'all didn't stunk up the place enough. You know what I'm saying? Y'all didn't put your funky foot where it don't belong and, rustled up all of this stuff, you and others. We don't need charity. We good. You know what I'm saying? We got the best fan base in all of football. We're about to have 1,000 wins. We are the two-time defending, about to be three-time defending Big Ten champion. We don't need charity from Zero State. Now, here's another thing I'm gonna shit talk about. Will Johnson. Okay, you heard it here first. Just like the I told you so that I showed you guys in my review of the Penn State Michigan game. This is gonna be I told you so for our shit talking segment. Will Johnson will put them handcuffs on Marvin Harrison Jr. Yup, you heard it first here, folks. In the big game, if all parties are healthy, if everything is even and equal, Will Johnson will put them cuffs and shut down, pardon the N, number 18 for Zero State. You heard it here first. It's a lock. All right, we're moving on. What's up with your college? How they doing? Put it in the chat. I will put it on the screen and we can talk about it. Okay? So heavy is the head that wears the crown. So that's exactly what Michigan is going through. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And I didn't think, and I don't know if anyone in Michigan's team, including Jim Harbaugh and Ward Manuel and Santaono, when we held up that second Big Ten champion trophy, I didn't, and I don't think they knew how heavy the crown would be. And that the court of public opinion at the moment would appear to mean more than being 10-0 in your division headed towards the game. Now, Jim Harbaugh fell on his sword, right? And was that a good thing? Was that for the greater good? I think it was, because you have to ask yourself a pertinent question. Do you want an emotionally drained team because of all of the media, all of the paparazzi? Do you want J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum off their game and Roman Wilson off their game simply because the press is beginning to be a bit too much? And that can happen. That happens to celebrities, that happens to government officials when the press just becomes too much. And then no matter how much of a stalwart you're trying to be stoic, you're trying to be a rock about it all, but eventually it just gets to you. And is Michigan going to put out so much energy just getting to the college football playoff that they will not be able to climb that hill? I don't think so, but why risk it? So therefore, Jim Harbaugh is going to fall on the sword for the greater good. And just like in the I told you so moment, right? I thought that the praise machine that went around college football, bigging up Penn State, would turn them into a magical pony. What happened? They didn't turn into a magical football pony full of special powers, and Drew Allo is going to become, the second coming of Joe Montana or John Elway and light up the college football world with his magical rainbow passes that delight all and make everybody go ooh and ah. And then at the end of the game, he was going to take off his helmet in front of an all-white Penn State crowd and throw around his luscious locks, and everybody would act like he's the second, like he's going to be on The Bachelor next week. You mean that didn't happen? Oh, you mean those chinks in the armor that I was telling you about from the Penn State Nittany Lions, or the Penn State Cootie Cats, as I like to call them, actually came to fruition. It actually came true. Like the fact that right side of that Penn State defensive line was a bunch of pussies. I told y'all that. I told y'all 51 and 91 could be had. I told y'all that. I also told y'all that 25 could be had. And on a Blake Corum run at the end of the game, when he went 30 yards for the last score and shut the door on the Penn State Cootie Cats, where you think they ran? They ran right off that left side of the Michigan offensive line. 25 was the defensive back that was trailing Blake Corum. And I don't want to hear how great Penn State defensive backs are when they can't come up and participate and run support. I don't want to hear how good Chop Robinson is when you're running right at him. He can't handle it. He can't man up. He can't buckle his chin and play big boy football, hold his own nuts. I don't want to hear how good Penn State defense is if you can't buckle up and play hat on a hat football, hold the edge, and not let the Don return to striking greatness like he did during that game. And Blake Corum return to his running greatness like he did in that game. And the entire Michigan program chew up the Penn State Cootie Cats for 270 yards all purpose. Come on, man. Knock it off with the all white party. What are we, P. Diddy in the Hamptons? Knock it off. All right, man, let's get to it. So that's the end of shit talking. If you're just tuning in on our many Facebook channels, if you're tuning in on YouTube, if you're tuning in on Twitch, Twitter, if you're tuning in on Mob Crush, D Live, Trovo Nation, or Instagram, I will have this stuff up. I had something wrong with my connection to Instagram. I am making that change. That change will happen this weekend. So look forward next week to all the Real HD programming that you're used to live on Instagram. But let's get right to it, man. Let's get to the preview of Michigan and Baby Hulk taking on the Maryland Terrapins. Now, let's go to the matchups. Here we go. So the Maryland Terrapins come in at 6-4 on the season, and Michigan comes in at 10-0. Here are some of the impact players. We got Tulia, we got Hemby, and Littleton as the running backs. We got Jones, Felton, and Deitches as the receivers, right? Deitches is the tight end that has a little bit of athleticism to him. Let's see. We got Phillips, Fuller are your outstanding people on the line of scrimmage playing defense, the defensive linemen. And then Fuller, Brown, and Shepard are the DBs that are scrappy, that turned in 4 interceptions versus, I believe it's Nebraska. Yeah, they turned in 4 interceptions versus Nebraska, and they're scrappy. And then, of course, our impact players for the Michigan Wolverines are J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, Roman Wilson, C.J. Edwards, Colston Loveland, Mikey Standerstill, Baby Hulk, Kenneth Grant. We got Graham, we got Will Johnson, and we got more. And they all have either turnovers, touchdowns, fumble recoveries, some sort of impact play on the season for the Michigan Wolverines. J.J. McCarthy comes in with, I believe it's 23 touchdowns on the season, and Tulia comes in having 22 touchdowns on the season, 8 interceptions. And what's interesting about Talia is that Talia loves to extend the play with his legs. He's a running dude who has legit speed. I think he's better than his big brother that's playing for Miami right now. I think he has better wheels, better overall bounce and athleticism. Hemby is the tough runner for the Maryland Terrapins. Jones, Felton, and Deitches are the pass receivers for the team. Hey, look who popped in. Kaboom. Guess who stepped in the room?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Good. I didn't expect you to jump on, man. I thought you were still hanging out with Bill Barr. What's going on? I saw that. That was a good look.
That was a long time ago, man, but we did a little sports talk together one night.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. How long ago was it? Because I just saw it on your feed, so I thought it was recent.
Let's see. I was still doing comedy in Phoenix, so I think that was like 2000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2019?
Got it. Cool. Not a problem. Hey, thanks for the like. So like, share, subscribe, and let's ride. We with my man Adam Brewer from Michigan Football Ranch. You want to tell the people a little bit about what you're doing with your channel, and you got some really cool stuff going on before we get back into the matchups, which is Maryland and Michigan. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely, guys. Hey, the Michigan Football Ranch is basically described as having a beer with one of your most passionate Michigan fans. So I talk shit. I make memes that are probably a little bit inappropriate. I go hard. I get angry at us and I get angry at the other team. But in the last couple of years, I've been pretty happy about what we've been doing. So I mean, I blast Michigan State, Ohio, as many people as possible. I just like have a good time, and I think you'll enjoy it. So I'm on all social media, so you can find me anywhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He is, and check him out. Also, check him out on Twitter. He has some really, really funny memes that he does, and he dices up the college football landscape with some really funny stuff. He got that juice. Check him out. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. We
Oh yeah,
just did our shit talking segment, but we can get back to it for a couple of ditties, man. We talked about how. I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones fan, but we
oh
talked
yeah,
about how Ned Stark had to fall on the sword, meaning Jim Harbaugh.
yeah.
He accepted the suspension. Your thoughts, real quick.
Yeah, I think that starts an apt comparison. I mean, uh, I'm very curious how Chris Partridge plays a part in this. I'm
Mm,
just curious about all of it now. I mean,
mm-hmm.
because as much as Michigan was so gung ho and like, hey, let's do this, we'll go to the mattresses, we'll do all this stuff, and then all of a sudden for them to turn around makes me wonder exactly what they found out or what was presented to them, which still makes me think that Harbaugh didn't know shit that was going on. So I feel better about that, but you never know.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. What I was explaining to the fans or the viewers were that sometimes when you go in a court of law and you're not in the adjunctive adjudicated body of your sport anymore, the claim comes on the university making the court case, and
Okay.
maybe due process isn't enough to win the court case.
Oh, I gotcha.
Maybe it's not a strong enough claim at the moment. I think
Yeah.
in the off season there may be some more things to be said about this, and I think there will be. I just think at the moment that might not be enough. And then, of course, the distraction on the team that it's going to cause. Will it leave the team emotionally drained or fired up for the second half of the season when they have to go for the championship? And I think as much as we want to think that we're right and we want to stand on that rock and plant our flag,
Yeah.
and I do believe that Michigan has a dog in the fight. What stake is it going to cause the team? Like if Blake Corum can't step outside his dorm room or his apartment without 20 cameras in his face, or JJ
Right.
McCarthy, or Donovan Edwards, or any of the coaches, or how much of the distraction is this whole circus really becoming toward the ultimate goal, which is to win a chip? Because if we don't win a chip, then the caca, they win. The media
Yeah.
and the circus, they win because they don't want to see us win.
True.
So as long as we stay focused on the winning, I think we're pointing ourselves in the right direction. Your thoughts?
I think yeah, I think this game is going to be important because we'll see where their minds are. If they
Mm-hmm.
come around, they struggle a bit. It was already going to be a trap game as it was, but if Maryland's like really hanging in there, then maybe it is getting to that point. But I don't. I think they're past it. I think they're more. I think this really brought them together, and I think they're ready to go. Would be my guess. Now, I mean, they're young men. You never know what's going to happen. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think it's going to force them to focus more. And if this team is together as I think they are, and their work ethic and their everything that they say they're so focused on is exactly at the level they say it is, then this should only enhance it instead of distract from it. But if they have any wavering whatsoever, then this is a perfect thing to take them down.
yeah. I think we're very mature.
Yeah,
But they're young men at the end of the day. You know what I
true.
mean? They all got girlfriends and friends and people chirping in their ear, and it's no but so much you could take. You know what I mean? You don't want. I call my new name for Kenneth Grant is Baby Hulk.
Yeah,
You don't want Baby Hulk to like spaz out and knock somebody out because they're getting on his nerves at the local
right.
hamburger joint or the local pizza shop because he
True.
just can't because people are just doing too much with the information.
Yeah.
Um, go ahead.
No, it also may be a good practice for a lot of them when they get into the NFL on how to handle their business in public. So if they're smart, they're using this as a learning experience to get better for future problems that may be coming their way, especially in the NFL. You never know who's going to have any type of controversy and stuff you can't control, and then all of a sudden you're being bothered all over again. So if you know already how to handle it, then hey, one leg up on you, you know.
Yeah, great point. Great point. So I made a call, and I don't know how you feel, but I'm gonna call it because I've done some scouting,
Sure.
and just like we did it in the Penn State uh show. During the reaction show, I had I told you so moment because we were right.
Right.
We told the people that the Penn State defensive line was small and could get bullied around. And
Hmm.
what happened?
They did. I mean,
What happened?
that I'll be honest, that's a perfect example of why sign stealing shouldn't matter. Because
Hmm.
man, when you saw all that massive or whatever they call that 7 offensive linemen coming out, they ain't gonna pass. So you knew what it was, and they came and it's probably even worse that it was a slow drip, because if you get shot in the face with a water cannon, it hurts, but it can knock you out and you're over and you don't really remember it. But you get that slow drip on the forehead over and over and over and over. It can drive you insane. And I think
Yeah,
that's what that running game was. Yeah, granted, we had to punt a few times. I mean, in the third quarter, we had what? I can't remember how many plays it was, but it took 8 minutes off the clock in
yes,
the third
yes.
quarter. I mean, that if that's not a slow water drip on your forehead, I don't know what is.
I got so excited when I saw that clock. I was like, look how much time we took off the clock. I said it's a wrap for these dudes.
Yeah, and it only went
It's a wrap.
45 yards.
Yes. And I
That
said,
was
I don't care if we score. All we
yeah,
need is a field goal. We killed this clock.
yeah,
And
seriously,
then you're gonna put Goofy Gun back on the field.
yeah.
Because the boy can throw. Aller can throw. But where he's throwing to, I don't
Right.
know.
I feel bad
That's
for
a
him.
whole nother other story.
Yeah, I feel bad. He's probably going to waste his talent at Penn State.
Ooh, now here's something. Now you really shit talking. Let's talk about it. Drew Aller,
Yeah,
if the OC gets, the OC fell on the sword, right?
yeah.
They got rid of him. And what if Aller, because I heard Aller was taking crap, and the coach was taking crap.
Hmm.
Do you think Aller might transfer? Is that something that could be a possibility?
Well, I mean, anything's a possibility nowadays. I mean, with NIL and that transfer
Mm-hmm.
portal, anything can
Mm-hmm.
happen. And if something happens to James Franklin at the end of the season, which I mean, I doubt, but because that schedule's pretty, I mean, not schedule, but that contract's pretty steep, I guess. But I mean, you never know. I mean, maybe he ends up at Michigan. Who knows?
Oh, that's one. That's one for the books. I mean, we don't really need them. We got Davis coming, and then we got the kid from Michigan coming. So we don't.
True. You just
We got them two. We got them two locked up. I'm calling it right.
okay.
Anyway, so I had a premonition. Right, I put on my
Mm,
Swami hat, and
okay.
I said, I believe that Will Johnson will be a top 5 pick because he will lock down Marvin Harrison Jr. I said it.
Dude,
I
I
said it.
I don't
I said it.
disagree. I don't disagree. I think there's pretty good evidence of it from last season too. I mean, if you go and look at the first half of what Marvin Harrison did compared to the second half, and I think the
Hmm.
second half is when they put Will Johnson on him instead of DJ Turner, and I think you see that he was on it.
I'm
So
telling you, and I saw what he did last week in crucial crunch moments. I was
yeah,
like, man, he looks like the most technically sound DB I've seen all year. I was
true.
like, wow.
Yeah,
You know what I
very
mean?
fast.
So and I know Penn State receivers aren't, this is not Florida State we're talking about. This isn't Oregon receivers we're talking about. We're talking about Penn State. but they did the job and they look like they're up to the task. And I
Yeah.
think before it's all said and done, with the ability of Will Johnson and the scheme of Jesse Minter, which is important,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
scheme, because they're going to scheme to stop that kid.
Yeah.
I think it happens. I think it happens. And I
Yeah.
think
No.
that's the surprise. I think that's the surprise of the game that no one sees coming. They're going to have to win that game some other way.
Yeah, dude, I agree. I mean, because I saw something, I either saw it or I read it or something, but McCord is in the top 10 when his pocket's clean and passer efficiency, but he's not even in the top 100 when he has to do it outside the pocket. So if he's getting pressure, he drops out of the top 100 in his passer efficiency. So it's like you get that pressure on him, man, he might not even get a chance to throw to Marvin Harrison. And especially if Marvin isn't completely open right away because Will's on him, that just adds to giving you that extra extra second for those big boys to get in there and just scare him to hell, you know?
Yeah, I think Joe Klatt or one of those announcer guys made that same reference during the Maryland Ohio State game. So you spot on with that. Spot on, spot on. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, man. Two-time defending. I was gonna say national champs. National champs is coming, but two-time defending Big Ten champions. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Did you think it would be this heavy to get to 10-0?
I mean, I think it's only heavy because of all the suspension stuff. To be honest, we've had a pretty easy road up until Penn State, so I think it was fairly easy. But I mean, obviously, you still have to go out and win the games, you know. And I think it shows that they're a good, focused team for them being able to put away like complacency and not let that affect them on such like a easy schedule for them up to this point. You know what I mean? So for them to do that, it's pretty good. I can't wait to see what they do this week and definitely next week because the 3 in a row, Penn State, Maryland, Ohio, that's where we find out if the neck can hold the crown. You know, if the neck can keep the head up.
Yeah, man. Speaking of Penn State, man, I thought the praise machine was supposed to turn Penn State into a magical white pony. What happened?
Man, because you know,
weren't they supposed to be the pretty pony, My Little Pony? They were supposed to be a pretty white pony, and be the pretty football pony that takes care of all things.
Mm-hmm.
All things went through the number 1 defense, and Drew Aller was going to be the next John Elway in college, and the whiteout was supposed to cure everything. And what happened, man? What happened? Why didn't they turn into a magical My Little Pony?
Because they have a little bald-headed dwarf called James Franklin that screws up everything for them. You know,
fourth and 2, right?
Yeah, dude.
Mr. Fourth and Short. You know.
Yeah, dude, that guy can ruin a good time for sure. He doesn't.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fourth is Short, man. We gonna go for it, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bartender's like, hey, dude, I think you had enough. He's like, nah, let's go one more.
One more.
Mr. One more, man. I got this. I could drive home on my one more, man.
Woo. Yeah, that is bad news.
Yes, sir. Let's look at the matchups, man. Tell me if you have a problem with anything along these Maryland, Michigan matchup points.
No. I think their wide receivers are pretty good. They drop a lot of balls, though. But other than, I don't see anything that we don't beat them in, to be quite honest. And I mean by a substantial margin, too.
Yeah, I agree. And I gave their wide receiver core a little bit of love by giving them a B.
Yeah,
they do have some ballers. Like, you know, Felton is a baller, Jones is a baller.
Yeah,
Deiches is pretty good, and Talia is a baller. You know what I mean? That kid can do it. That kid can do it. If you put him on Penn State, they're a problem.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're a whole problem for the Big Ten and anybody that plays them.
I mean, it's crazy that he was once with Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I would be curious to see him with another team. What he could do.
Right. Now, what do you think of this J.J. McCarthy Talia comparison, man. Would you give Talia a B and McCarthy an A on the season, or being that he threw 8 interceptions, Talia, and McCarthy only threw 3. Michigan is 10-0. Maryland is 6-4. What's your thoughts on the two quarterbacks that headline this matchup?
I think they're the two best in the Big Ten. I mean, I don't know if
That's
there's,
interesting. I don't
you
think you're
know,
wrong.
yeah. I mean, I don't. I think Talia is very close to McCarthy. I think he's a little too injury prone for me. But the kid can toss it. I mean, he can move. He's accurate as hell. I mean, he really is talented. I give it to him. His size is what I think I would give over. I like JJ over Talia just solely based off of the size. And plus, I don't know, I just like the way JJ uh is a leader. Now listen, Tua's little brother, probably a great leader too. I don't know. I don't follow Maryland enough to know what he's like, but and then I'm just a homer, I guess, because I love JJ. I love everything that kid does. I think he's mean, he's thoughtful, he's aggressive when he needs to be. He puts his team first. I don't know. For me, he's the guy. I just love him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree. I think he's the perfect quarterback for Michigan.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing the matchup play out on the field. I think you're going to see two dynamic passers. What do you think of the Michigan defensive backs? Obviously, they're better than Maryland's defensive backs
Right.
based on the 50 burger that Ohio State put on them. But what do you think of the Michigan defensive backs versus Talia?
Um, I'm curious to see what Josh Wallace does. You know, he Talia takes some chances, and I don't know who Wallace is, if he's going to cover Prather or if he's going to cover. That's I think the matchup. I think they're going to probably get Prather on Wallace and see what he can do, because Prather is their more dynamic player, but they all drop balls. I I just think that overall Michigan is going to get some turnovers because I think they're going to bait to his little brother into tossing something that he thinks is open, and it's going to be another pick six probably.
Yeah, you took it right out of my hot take. I said the same thing. I
Oh,
said
okay.
Jesse Minter is going to bait that kid into throwing some picks.
Yeah, I just see it. Because they've been doing it all year to everybody.
Yeah.
They make you think one thing, and then all of a sudden, and this has been the most opportunistic Michigan defense I probably have ever seen.
And then
I
of
mean, they
course, and then of course, some big bubbas coming after him on the defensive line.
true.
Man, love it, love it, love it, love
Yeah,
it. What do you think? Let's jump right into the eye test, man. What do you think? What team? You like my Sherman Clump reference?
I love it.
So I think that Maryland is offensive heavy, meaning that's the way that the team goes. The team goes as the offense goes, so they're offensive heavy team, and they got a little bit of juice with them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if you let them get going, they're gonna get going. And they're gonna give you a game. But what you need to do is apply pressure to their offensive line. I think that's where they can be had.
hmm
And I also think that you need to apply pressure to Tua and not Tua, Talia, excuse me. And he can be had. He can be tripped into some interceptions. I think that Michigan is the more complete team, and they passed the eye test. They've been passing the eye test all season, especially given the way that we adapted to our weaknesses during that Penn State game. What's your thoughts?
yeah. Also, I think the main thing that you have to remember is that we're going up against Josh Gaddis too. So I
Mm-hmm.
think he I don't know how he won the Broyles Award as like uh the top assistant or whatever, but he has a certain way of calling plays, and I think if you frustrate him, that he doesn't adjust well to being frustrated. And so when Michigan does that eventually, because they know his tendencies. I mean, they had the guy there forever, and I don't. And anything that I've seen or read so far, it doesn't sound like he's strayed too much away from what he does. Like obviously, right? So with the team knowing him as well as they do, I definitely think they have a better chance of really not only baiting Tua or Talia into something, but baiting Josh Gaddis into a few play decisions that he thinks are going to be there, and they're going to take him away.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna go to that 3 safety look that they do sometime when they drop into quarters,
Oh, they could.
and maybe bracket Hamby or not Hamby, but Felton,
Yeah.
and kind of get some things going along those lines.
Good.
That's possible. I think you're gonna see some looks, and I think it's a great tune-up. We're gonna get to this in a bit later. I think it's a great tune-up for Ohio State
Oh, for sure.
because
Get away ready.
there'll be a wide open passing
Yeah.
concept to that game, and that's the exact tune-up our linebackers and DBs need for a game like Ohio State.
Right. And with Maryland's wide receivers being probably I don't know, they're probably the best wide receiving core we'll face so far this season, right? So doing I think you're right. It's a great test. Get them ready for Ohio.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Anything more on the eye test? What else do you see? The eye in the sky don't lie. What else do you see? What do you think of our offensive tackle situation?
Ah,
Do you think
that was
do you think that's a thing, or do you think that was like a game by game matchup type of deal?
I don't know, man. That's the one thing that has me worried. I don't know if I'm so much worried about this game as I am next game. And I guess what would have me a little bit concerned would be, does he look good in this game, which is kind of a false, like giving you a false sense of security, and then them not trying to adjust things going into Ohio, and then him getting his fucking lunch eaten again. Because I mean, that was one of the worst performances I had seen from an offensive Michigan tackle since like the Brady Hoke days. It was not good.
So normally, when you have a box defensive end, you try to tell your defensive end not to go too far upfield,
Right.
because you're going to open up lanes for runs.
Right.
And it seemed, if you go back, I don't know, do you watch 24/7 Sports?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay. And you watch them cover Michigan and all of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Sam Webb and Devin Gardner did a whole thing about a breakdown of the game and the major plays.
Okay, so I
And
gotta watch that one. I haven't seen it yet.
yeah, it's a really cool, and they did something that I was thinking about, which was how much their defensive ends and linebackers were just screaming up the field. They weren't even like playing their rules. They weren't setting an edge. They were just screaming up the field.
Right.
And I said that kind of goes against the fundamentals of a defensive end because you're leaving wide gaps. And if you're like a Cam Newton type of guy, you're going to run right through those wide open gaps and just run right up the field.
Right.
And instead of it being J.J. McCarthy, it was Donovan Edwards and Blake. So I wonder if that was a game plan of Penn State to create those things, but they just wanted to rattle JJ. They wanted to get in JJ's hip pocket faster than, and they thought that if they could get him rattled, that would be the start to unwrapping the entire offense. What's your thoughts?
Maybe. I mean, I could see that because they didn't do that against McCord. I remember against McCord, they'd get into the offensive tackles and push them into him. So maybe that's something there. I don't. I mean,
it was just the replay. If you go back and watch the replays, you see even on run plays, you see how they're screaming up the field, and I'm like, huh? What are they doing? And that's why the screen to Samaj Morgan worked.
Right.
Now, normally a defensive end would sniff that out and play it, right?
Right.
If you did that against Hutchinson, he's tackling the kid. He's going to tackle the kid. He's going to see ball, get ball.
Yeah, I mean
that worked to a T, and Samaj went crazy on that screen, that wide receiver screen from the slot, because they screamed upfield and they kept doing it over and over and over and over. They were even running games to get the left defensive end upfield. So I said, whoa, games and stunts to get the left
Right.
defensive end up the field. So I was like, this is interesting. It's an interesting,
Yeah. Yeah.
play on the defensive line. Just something to check out. Something I thought
Huh.
was
All
a
right.
little
I'll check it
interesting.
out.
Yeah, man. Let's jump right into hot take.
Okay.
So what's your hot take for this game? One of my main hot takes is that health is a priority. Get out with no major injuries. What's yours?
Yeah. I mean, I want us to just kill them by halftime, and then let this be another. To be honest, actually, I want them to kill it all the way up to the fourth quarter. I want to keep that scoreless streak alive in the third quarter. So yeah, like you said, I want health to be number one thing. I want Blake Corum to finally be 100% healthy going up against Ohio for the first time in his career.
I think you'll see that because I think you're going to
Yeah,
see. I think you're going to see the return of Mullings this week.
good. Yeah, and then I worry about the refs. Not sure how that's going. The Big Ten. I'm ever since 2016. I don't put anything past the refs to cheat
Mm.
or to whatever. But we have been doing pretty good this year, so I think maybe I won't worry about that too much. But I'm always a nervous Nelly when it comes to the last couple games of the season. And especially when it comes to stuff like this. Like last season, I was way more nervous for the Illinois game than I was the Ohio State game. Just
Right.
because it's we always play some team that gives us a real pain in the ass time right before we play Ohio. I mean, a couple years ago when it was Indiana was always giving us a fucking hard time. Maryland's giving us a hard time. Illinois gave us a hard time. So I always get a little wary about this game. Uh, but that's in a weird way. I'm kind of happy that we have the all this Harbaugh shit because I think it's going to help them really focus and get past the trap game mentality. But I think other than that, I don't really have any real concerns or hot takes about it. I think this is just a game we can go in. If we bring the noise like we normally do, we could beat the hell out of them and get out of there with the nice little win and get home.
Yeah, man. I said don't let it go to your head.
Yeah.
The press scandal. The players have to try to shut it out. I don't know if they all got to get on the floor with JJ and meditate. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? Go out in the field and put the grass in the air and talk to the football guys. I don't know. Precise execution, put the game out of reach early. You hit on that.
Yeah.
Bait Tua into interceptions using mentor scheme. We talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yep.
Maryland is a good tune-up for the game. I agree because you're going to see very similar passing talent on both sides of from Ohio State and Maryland.
Right.
Now, here's what I think is kind of cool. I think we should showcase if we get in a comfortable position. Let's say we get up 21-3 or 21-10 or 24-10, and
yeah,
it looks like it's kind of out of reach by late second quarter, early third quarter. Can we utilize the various weapons on our team? Can we showcase Tyler Morris a little bit? Can we showcase Darius Clemens a little bit? Can we showcase Barner a little bit? In a way that would give Ohio State a little bit more to think about, and make them a little more prepared to be a weapon. Smudge Morgan, maybe we could hit him for a deep one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something, something that would give them just a bit more to think about. Put something on tape that would give them something to add to their practice. That would take away from what they normally have to do in a week like this. And lastly, man, isn't it such a luxury to have such those big bubbas on the offensive defensive line, man?
It does make a man feel good. It does make a man feel good to know that. I mean, those guys are yeah, man. It's probably been the best defensive line I've seen in Michigan for probably a good ever since Harbaugh's been there. So I mean, even past the Rich Rod years, I mean, we're talking like Gabe Watson, Alan Branch type.
Wow, take it back.
You know what I mean? Because
good stuff.
Because those guys were dominant. Like, so to see that you have a more updated version of those two right now, I I love it, dude. I and then our offensive line. What I mean, it goes without saying. Even though we had a problem last week with just our tackle, what they do on a yearly basis, it seems like now, is just incredible.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Michigan NIL committees, man, that had all our COVID
Yeah.
seniors come back, and they supported them, and
Hmm.
put a couple coins in their pockets to keep them, keep them on that happy mission, as Harbaugh likes to say. And
True.
they, and I think all of them did themselves a favor and improved their draft stock by sticking around. I could easily see 3 or 4 people on the offense being taken. I would
Oh,
love to see Roman taken in the first round, but I think if Roman gets taken in the first round, I think he's gonna have to like show out in the Ohio State game. If he does that, I
yeah.
think they may someone may snatch him up late first round.
Yeah,
Um,
he's really got to have a good closeout to the. So beat Ohio, look great, Big Ten championship, and the playoffs, because that's
yeah,
going to be the biggest and brightest stage we're on. And if he can really do some damage to some of those defenses, then I can see the NFL, at least one team, going in there and trying to take him.
yeah, CJ as well, man, because I think they
Yeah,
both have NFL type talent. I think they're both ready to go. I just think they need the numbers, and
yeah.
you know, I think it's possible, man. Let's get to those weekly picks, bro. Let's get
All
right
right.
into it. All right, here we go. So these are the top games. These aren't all the games in the FBS slate, but some of the better ones, man. What do you think of Washington or Oregon State, man?
I
What's your thought about that?
I think now this might be crazy, but I think Oregon State's going to beat Washington. Yeah,
Say more. Say more.
I do,
Okay.
because it's hard. I lived in Arizona for probably like 9, 10 years, and so I've been a part of the Pac-12, or watched watched the Pac-12 quite a bit. And even when Oregon State is bad, it's hard to go into Corvallis, I think it is, and beat them. And they have a really solid defense this year. They have that DJ kid from Clemson, and he's having a pretty good season. Their running game is pretty good, and their wide receiving core is, I wouldn't say elite, but it's pretty good for the Pac-12. And I just don't think Washington's defense is good enough to completely shut down Oregon. And I think Oregon's defense is good enough to slow down Washington at least twice.
Now, see, I didn't know that DJ from Clemson wound up in Oregon State.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's their starting quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. I didn't realize. I didn't
Yeah.
follow it that closely. Now what about number 1 Georgia and number 19 Tennessee?
Well, as long as Joe Milton plays for Tennessee, I can't imagine them being that great. I mean, I think he seems like a good kid. He's a little bit of a prima donna, but I think Georgia is just going to. I think they're just going to do what Georgia does. Georgia is I mean, I know that I don't know. They're beatable this year, but man, I don't think there's anybody in the SEC right now outside of maybe Alabama that can hang with them. And I think this is a down year kind of for the SEC, or a unique year, because you're getting teams like Kentucky coming up and Missouri coming up, and Auburn's good again, or more better than what they were the last couple of seasons. So I think it's a different view for the SEC, but I just think Georgia by far and away is still the class of the SEC, and I think Milton's too turnover prone for what Georgia will throw at him.
Yeah, man. So do you think home field will have an event, or will serve as an advantage for Tennessee?
Uh, at an advantage as in keeping the score, or at least stopping Georgia from scoring 50. I'll say that. I
You
don't
don't
think
think you don't think the 12th man is gonna come out of the crowd like a pony like it did for Penn State?
No, I think that crowd's going to be gone by the beginning of the fourth.
Oh wow, yeah. I honestly think Tennessee is going to give them a ride at least in the first quarter. I think so.
All right.
I think
Hey,
so.
listen, if they lose, that's great. I mean, I'm all for Georgia losing. There's no part
Yeah,
of me
me
that's
too. I
hoping
just think
Georgia.
I think they got. I think they got some people to rival Georgia. I just think it's a matter of now. Is Baby Gronk coming back?
Yeah, he's back.
Oh, he's back. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go. So depending
right.
on how Tennessee can handle him, depending on if they have what they need to slow him down. I won't say
Yeah,
handle him, slow him down.
right.
Then they'll have a decent time. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting matchup, man. I'll be watching it. Or at least trying to keep up with it.
right.
And next we're going to talk about Texas, Iowa. What do you think? Iowa State, rather.
Uh, See, I thought Texas was going to beat the pants off of them, but I've been talking to some of my friends because I live in Austin and there's a lot of Texas, obviously a lot of Texas fans here, and they're nervous about this one. And
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
they don't they but then again, they've seen Texas fall on their face quite a bit over the last decade or so. So this, I guess they seem to think that this sets up well for Texas to face plant. Just because it's at Iowa State. Iowa State isn't great, but they're not awful, and they play better at home. And Texas has not been putting these bad teams away lately. So it kind of adds to a bunch of their nervousness.
So they got the Texas reflex, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
um, I think Texas will be too much up front for them.
I agree. See, I thought
After
Texas
it's
was
all
going
said
to
and
work them.
done.
Yeah, dude, I thought Texas was going to work them. That was my original opinion. But these guys out here, I mean, they really believe Iowa State's going to give them a game.
All right, now Louisville, Miami. What do we think?
I think Louisville's going to whip them by like 2 scores. Because Miami benched their starting quarterback, that Alex kid. I can't remember his last name, for this new kid. And the new kid last week against Florida State got hurt in like the last 3 minutes or so. And then that Alex kid had to come in and still looked as bad as he did throughout. I mean, I guess his completion percentage is like around 68 to 70%. But I mean, his turnover rate, it's got to be in the high 30s or 40%. The kid is just not not very reliable. And then Louisville has got everything going for him right now, I think. So I think Louisville beats Miami at least by 10.
I like the kid Cam Kitchens from Miami.
Yeah.
I think he's a baller. Is he their punt returner or he's just one of in their secondary? I'm trying to remember.
That's a good question, man. I don't know. I mean, I'll
Because
be honest. I was one of my
because
favorite teams. One of my favorite teams of all time was the 2000. Well, the Miami teams from 2000 to 2002. Those guys were unbelievable to watch, and I loved every second of watching those guys. But ever since then, once Jeremy Shockey left that team, I kind of started losing interest.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It'd be interesting, man. I'm not gonna say one man can
Right.
resurrect the whole squad, but I like the Kitchens kid. I think he'll be an interesting player in the game. North Carolina at Clemson. What do you think?
I think Clemson wins this one. It's hard to beat Clemson at home.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a hard fought game, but I think Clemson wins by like 6, maybe 7.
I think this one is more of a barn burner than we think. I think it's going to be high scoring as well.
Okay.
We have talked about Maryland at Michigan. Of course, we think Michigan is going to win.
Right.
You say they're going to put them away by the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think by middle of the third we're looking to change the channel if you're not a real true blue.
Yeah, yeah. Cool, cool, cool. I think the same thing. I think it may happen a little earlier. I think they may make Talia throw into some early picks.
Yeah.
That's just my guess. I remember Michigan frustrating him about maybe 2 years ago,
Oh yeah.
and they had him banging the floor, and Loxley was looking crazy. And
Hmm.
you remember that game?
Oh yeah, dude.
It was like a 3:30 game or something like that, 4 o'clock game, something like that.
Yeah, that's when Donovan had 200 yards receiving or something like that at
Yeah,
Maryland.
they went nuts, man, and they
Yeah.
had everybody banging their heads and banging the floor, and
Yeah.
you
AJ,
know,
I think AJ Henning ran a punt return back or a kickoff return back. I think it was on that one.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yep.
was.
So that was.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
I think I was in England then. I was visiting some friends out there, and I was like, it was at the bar, and I was super. It was I don't care. I think it was like super late at night, and I'm watching that game. I was going crazy.
Oh. That was the time difference.
Oh yeah, it's like 10-hour difference or something like that.
Nice. Okay. Who would have thought you would get that out there? That's cool. That's
Oh,
cool.
dude, I made sure of it. I had what was it? I think it was Hulu or YouTube. One of them I could use while I was out there, and I was what, dude? I couldn't. I was going crazy. I was
Yes, sir.
like, "What the hell is going on with you?" I was in the
Yeah,
bar
man.
watching it on my phone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But thanks everybody for tuning in for the Big House Breakdown preview show. Baby Hulk versus Baby Tua.
Yeah.
Baby Tunga Valoa, right? It should be a
Absolutely.
game. The kid is talented. I'm not gonna knock him. I think he probably should have went to a different team.
Yeah.
Maybe he would have, put up better numbers. Him on a Tennessee would be really interesting.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's a sexy look.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the Big House Breakdown. Like, share, and subscribe. Adam, you want to give them your call letter so they can check you out where you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, guys, you can find me on all social media. Find me at either at Michigan or at Maniacs Podcast on Twitter, or Maniac Memes, or just the Michigan Football Rant on all social media. IG, you can find me on Spotify and YouTube, all of it. So just come hang out, enjoy a couple episodes. You'll love it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for coming on, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, man, anytime. Thank you. I love it.
Yeah, man. Adam is a regular on the Big House Breakdown, and we want you to be a regular on the Big House Breakdown. We are planning all those types of really, really cool things. I know we didn't have our graphics this week. We'll have them next week. Had a lot going on at the house, so I didn't have time to plan all the graphics and all of the motion pictures and all of that. So we will have them set for you guys next week. And I don't know if you're able to join, bro, but if you can, man, let's talk some shit about O State, man.
All right. I'm definitely trying to do it. It's a holiday week for us at American Airlines, so you get paid a lot of money on the next couple week for like overtime or holiday hours and stuff. So I take full advantage of that. So I'm going to try and get on this week if I can, for sure.
Nah, no problem, man. We even if you can't, we'll chop it up afterwards.
All
Looking
right.
forward to the Big Ten championship because I know we're gonna be there. So, all right, man. For everybody on the Big House Breakdown, thanks for tuning in. I'm the Vic. He is Adam, and we are gone. Peace. Go blue.
Go blue.